Quite some time has passed since the last time I made a video talking about tips and tricks for competitive play. Primarily because I was not playing a heck of a lot of competitive play. But since that changed last season and I'm slowly but surely getting back into the swing of things, I figured this might be the perfect time to fresh up on some basics. In fact, if you are watching this video at launch, I'm probably going to be streaming over on Twitch right now, doing my placements and trying to put my own tips to the test. So if you want to watch me live, feel free to check that out. But whether you have been grinding it out for seasons or just like me had a long break, reminding yourself of these tips is probably a good idea. So without further ado, I present to you 4 tips to survive Season 17 of competitive play in Overwatch. Number 1. Overwatch is a resource game, and you should be treating it as such. Your ability cooldowns, a resource. Your time bank, a resource. Your teammates, a resource. And your ultimates, probably one of the most important resources in the game. When approaching a team fight, you have to be aware of the resources that are in play. You are always trying to win the economy war by investing less resources than your enemies, or by utilizing your resources smartly relative to your current situation. For example, it's completely fine to go into a team fight expecting to lose, so long that you can make your enemies waste some of their ultimates while keeping a hold of your own, or simply charging them up in the first place. That is what we call a dry push. A team fight that has the sole purpose of baiting out ultimates without using any of your own, so that you can stockpile them for a big team fight later. But every single cooldown in the game is a resource that you have to consider as well. If you play Genji and you use Dragon Blade with reckless abandon, then you should not be surprised if an Ana ruins your day with a sleep dart. Certain cooldowns should be baited out before you call go time to make sure you have an easier time getting the frags that you are looking for. A Brig is easier to take out when she wasted shield bash. A Reaper has no way to survive a flashbang if you already used Wraith form, and a Tracer without recall is usually more scared of you than you are of her. In most ranks anyway. Pulling out which cooldowns have been used can be very beneficial information to your team as well, and sometimes it is simply the smarter choice to give up some capture percentage to get a proper regroup before contesting the point for good. Number 2. Not all frags are made equal. If there's one thing that is accurate for Overwatch in 2019, then it's the fact that the game has a heck of a lot of more sustain than it used to. I got 4, how are we not winning? Is something that I hear particularly DPS players say a lot, and the reason is that not all frags are made equal. I mean, hey, I know the feeling. Sometimes when you play DPS, you are simply in the zone, and you tunnel vision yourself out of the feed. So you don't see that prior to you taking out 4 enemies, your entire team has been annihilated. All of these achievements mean nothing if you give up your life for it and if your team has no means of following up. So the timing matters a lot. But it's also a very different matter when taking out an Ana versus a Hammond, for example. Because Hammond is an extremely mobile and robust character that brings a ton of stalling potential. He's a hero that single-handedly can stall out a team that is lacking DPS because said DPS players have given their life to take out 4 squishies. I know that we all like to imagine that getting 4 frags should net us a win, but considering that a lot of maps are very defender biased, and considering how durable some of these stalling characters are, that is simply no longer the case. Number 3. Accept that smurfing is absolutely fine. Okay, now please don't shoot the messenger. I just want to reiterate that, according to the developers, smurfing is not a problem whatsoever. Whenever you see a player that is vastly outskilling you and your team, they see no issue with that. You can report that as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it is not bannable by their standards. What is bannable is account sharing. What is bannable is intentionally deranking, and what is also bannable is being a little bitch. It's time to stop! Look, I'm not saying that this is an ideal situation. Yes, reason would suggest that a player who vastly outperforms their peers should be ranking up rather quickly, but even then, they have to play these matches that are complete stomps to get there. And obviously, the logic at hand here is very flawed. Because even when the matchmaker puts them in their appropriate ranks, eventually, they are hugely messing up the balance of the matches they participate in until that adjustment period is over. Not to mention that this is not the only problem when it comes to smurfing. A lot of players are on their smurf accounts for the sole purpose of not having to care, and not caring in a competitive environment sucks. But even so, that is still not bannable. I'm not saying you have to like it, all I'm saying that this is the deck of cards we are given, and we somehow have to deal with it. And lastly, number 4, flexibility means nothing without consistency. The funny thing about the human mind is that we are constantly highlighting frustrating experiences in our memory while disregarding fun situations, while simultaneously paying more attention to the mistakes our teammates make than trying to learn from our own. Here's the thing, it takes more than a single good match to make you feel like the game made up for a really bad match. That's why a lot of people feel largely very negative about competitive play. But the way our brains work, we also have a tendency of disregarding the mistakes we made ourselves. We remember how we popped off every so often, but forget conveniently about the countless feeds that took place prior to that happening. And it's not really our fault. I don't want to waste your time by repeating things I've already mentioned in a lot of videos before, but the way the game is designed, it is constantly giving you feedback that makes you feel like your losses are not your fault, and it does very little in teaching you that what you did was wrong. Look, it's very fun to flex onto a hero and do really well, but if you can't replicate that result reliably, then you are better off trying to stick to your best characters as much as you can, specifically when ranking up matters to you. Because if there's one thing the matchmaker cares about, it's consistency. Popping off once is not gonna make up for 10 matches worth of feeding, so whatever hero allows you to perform consistently well is the hero that you should be putting the most time into. And considering the current state of balance in the game, with the exception of GM and top 500, a heck of a lot of characters are actually very viable right now. So as long as you are doing well, you should be fine in the long run. And also, we now have the replay system, so please utilize this tool to highlight your mistakes and do it better next time. There is always something that we can improve at. But this is it for me here today, so I highlight 4 tips that are supposed to help me, and by proxy you, surviving your placement matches in Season 17. If you enjoyed this video, then by all means let me know by dropping me a like on your way out, and consider subscribing if you want to see more. And as always, if you have some of your own tips that help you stay sane on ladder, feel free to share them with your peers down in the comment section below. Thank you everybody so much for watching, don't forget to check me out over on Twitch, and I hope to see you guys next time.